What happens when the person who held your heart is the one who rips it open? Betrayal by a stranger is a wound, but betrayal by someone you love, that's an amputation, not of the body, but of the self. It severs something fundamental: trust in them, in the world, and in yourself. Today we're going to walk through the black valley where love and betrayal meet, a place where philosophy meets pain, where thinkers like Nietzsche, Simone de Beauvoir, and Carl Jung whisper truths not about how to heal, but how to see. Because maybe betrayal isn't the opposite of love. Maybe it's what love becomes when it rots. The cruelest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It's not the sword from afar that cuts the deepest. It's the whisper from behind. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." And so you look back. You rewind the laughter, the touch, the "I'll never hurt you" promises. You try to find the moment, the fracture, where the love started to decay. But betrayal doesn't always arrive with sirens. Sometimes it wears a familiar smile. Love gives birth to something fragile: innocence. Not the innocence of childhood, but a spiritual openness. You believe, you trust, you let go, and betrayal murders that child in you. Simone de Beauvoir once described affliction as a death of the soul while the body still lives. That's exactly what betrayal feels like. You walk, you eat, you breathe, but something sacred inside is gone. In that silence, some begin to doubt love altogether. They say, "Never again, never open up, never be fooled." But others, philosophers, poets, and those brave enough, choose to stare directly at the wound. They don't look away. They ask it what it wants to teach them. If you've experienced this, if love turned its knife on you, share in the comments. Not for sympathy, but to remind others, you are not alone in the dark. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the rejected part of ourselves we pretend doesn't exist. But betrayal forces it to the surface. The rage, the obsession, the impulse to destroy or disappear. You begin to question your worth. Was I not enough? Did they ever really love me? Was it all a lie? Jung would say, no, it wasn't all a lie. But the mask they wore and the mask you wanted to see were both illusions. Love doesn't just bind, it projects. We fall in love with who we imagine they are, and they fall in love with the version of us that serves their needs. When betrayal strikes, the fantasy collapses, and we're left staring at reality, naked and brutal. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." Pain doesn't always teach. Sometimes it just burns. But if we let it, it can forge something deeper. Not healing, not forgiveness, not right away, but clarity. You begin to see that love is never safe. It requires risk. It demands a vulnerability that makes betrayal even possible. But to never risk again is to betray yourself. True strength is not never being betrayed. It's rising after betrayal without closing your heart to the world. Eventually, the silence comes. They move on. You stay behind, rebuilding not just your life, but your inner architecture. And in that long solitude, something unexpected happens. You stop needing answers. You stop trying to understand why, because you realize the betrayal wasn't about you. It was a mirror of their own weakness, their own wounds. And in that realization, the pain loosens its grip. Not because you forget, but because you've integrated the scar into your story. You become wiser, colder, perhaps, but clearer. So what do? When love betrays us, we don't pretend it didn't happen. We don't drown it in revenge. We sit with it. We let it hollow us out so that something more real, more grounded, and more aware can grow in its place. And that, perhaps, is the highest form of love. Not the one that avoids pain, but the one that survives it and still chooses to feel.
If this made you pause, if you're drawn to deeper truths and quiet strength, then you're in the right place. Like, subscribe, and keep exploring with us. See you in the next one.